The Mojave sun cast long shadows across Salvation Valley as Jackson Reed watched smoke rise from his destroyed windmill, its blades twisted like broken fingers against the desert sky. 20 years of peaceful farming had weathered his hands, but not his instincts, and those instincts were screaming that this wasn't just vandalism, this was a message. Before his time working the desert soil, he'd carried a different kind of steel than farm tools, and the weight of his past felt suddenly heavy as storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Dawn painted Salvation Valley in hues of amber and gold, the rising sun transforming the desert landscape into a tapestry of light and shadow. Inside the weathered farmhouse that had stood sentinel over these lands for 3 generations, Jackson Reed nursed a cup of coffee at his kitchen table, his calloused fingers wrapped around the ceramic mug as he studied the morning beyond his window. The valley stretched before him like a sleeping giant, its red soil and scattered sage marking the boundary between civilization and wilderness. The ancient windmill that had served his family for decades turned lazily in the morning breeze. Its metal voice, a familiar song that spoke of water pumped from deep beneath the desert floor. Jackson had maintained it meticulously since inheriting the farm, understanding that in this unforgiving landscape, water meant life itself. The windmill's steady rhythm had become as much a part of him as the heartbeat of the land he'd chosen. For his second chance. Through the kitchen window, he watched his farmhands begin their morning routine. Sarah Martinez, who'd started as seasonal help 5 years ago and proved herself invaluable, was already checking the irrigation lines that fed their experimental drought-resistant crops. Her border collie, Dust, trotted faithfully beside her, nose to the ground and ever vigilant. Young Tommy Blackwood, a local kid with an intuitive understanding of machinery, worked on the tractor that seemed to run better under his touch than anyone else's. The morning light caught the silver handle of Jackson's pruning knife, a gift from old Joe Wallace, who'd taught him the art of desert farming when he'd first arrived in Salvation Valley. The blade had trimmed countless branches and harvested innumerable crops, its honest wear so different from the tools he'd once carried in another life. His past sat locked away in a trunk in the attic, along with memories of times when his hands had been used for different purposes. A gentle breeze carried the scent of sage and morning dew through the open window, along with the distant call of red-tailed hawks circling above his experimental fields. Jackson's methods had drawn attention from agricultural universities, his techniques for sustainable desert farming becoming a model for others trying to coax life from the harsh landscape. The irony wasn't lost on him, that hands once known for dealing death had learned to nurture life instead. His ledger lay open on the desk, rows of careful figures documenting the progress of his latest project. Next month's Agricultural Innovation Conference in Phoenix would be crucial. He'd spent years developing farming techniques that could help other desert communities thrive, and the recognition his work had gained helped support more than just his own spread. 3 smaller farms in the valley had adopted his methods, their success intertwined with his in the way of small communities. The sound of approaching engines drew his attention. Through the window, he watched an unfamiliar pickup truck pull up to his gate, followed by 2 more vehicles. The drivers remained inside, their shapes distorted by dusty windshields, but something about their positioning sent a familiar tingle down Jackson's spine. They were arranged to cover multiple angles, a configuration that spoke of training rather than coincidence. Sarah's voice crackled through the farm's radio system. "Boss, got some visitors at the north gate. They're asking about water rights. Something feels off." Jackson noted the tension in her voice. Sarah had worked security details in Afghanistan before turning to agriculture, and she didn't spook. "Easily, keep your distance," Jackson responded, his voice carrying the calm authority that had once commanded more than just farmhands. "I'll handle it." Through the window, he watched Tommy move casually toward the equipment shed, his path offering a clear view of both the visitors and the back road that led toward the highway. The young man had unconsciously picked up more than just mechanical skills during his time at the farm. The lead truck's driver's door opened first, revealing a man whose expensive boots had never seen honest farm work. He moved with calculated precision, his casual stance belied by the way his eyes swept the area, cataloging details with professional thoroughness. "Mr. Reed," the man called out, his voice carrying a hint of city refinement that seemed out of place against the backdrop of desert and sage. "Hope we're not interrupting your morning. Name's William Bishop, representing Desert Valley Development Corporation." Jackson recognized the company name from recent news reports, a corporate entity that had been buying up water rights across 3 counties, their methods ranging from aggressive but legal purchases to more questionable tactics when owners proved reluctant to sell. The pattern was familiar to anyone who'd watched the slow strangulation of small farms across the American West. The morning sun had climbed higher, burning away the last traces of dawn chill as Jackson stepped onto his porch. The old wooden boards creaked beneath his boots, their weather-beaten surface bearing witness to decades of similar moments, farmers standing their ground against those who saw the land only as something to be exploited. Bishop's smile never reached his eyes as he produced a document from his leather briefcase. "We're here about your water rights, Mr. Reed. Our geological surveys indicate you're sitting on top of an aquifer that could be better utilized for regional development. We're prepared to make a generous offer." Jackson noted how the other vehicles' occupants maintained their positions, engines idling softly. Their posture suggested military or law enforcement background, the kind of men hired when corporations expected resistance. The scene carried echoes of moments from his past, though these men didn't realize they were playing a game whose rules he'd helped write. "My water rights are registered with the county," Jackson replied evenly, his voice carrying the patience of a man used to explaining things to city folks. "They're tied to land that's been in my family for 3 generations, not interested in selling." Bishop's smile tightened fractionally. "Times are changing, Mr. Reed. Small farms like yours, they're becoming obsolete. Corporate agriculture is the future. We'd hate to see you struggle against economic realities you can't control." The threat was subtle but clear. Through the farm's radio, Jackson heard Sarah's quiet warning. "Got movement in the hills, boss. Long rifles, professional positioning. These aren't just corporate boys." The desert wind carried the scent of sage and dust, along with something else, gun oil and cordite. Someone had been doing weapons maintenance recently, and not with the kind of firearms typically used for farm work. Jackson kept his expression neutral, though his mind catalogued the subtle signs of preparation for violence. Old Joe Wallace's truck appeared on the horizon. The retired rancher's timing wasn't coincidental. The old man had taught Jackson more than just farming. He'd shown him how the valley's residents protected their own. Bishop's men shifted slightly, adjusting their positions to account for the new arrival. The morning had stretched toward noon, the sun now high enough to cast stark shadows across the desert soil. Jackson studied Bishop and his men, reading the signs that most would miss, the way they maintained specific distances from each other, their hands never far from concealed weapons, their positions offering interlocking fields of fire that spoke of professional training. "Consider our offer carefully, Mr. Reed," Bishop said, his tone making it clear this wasn't a friendly business proposition. "Desert Valley Development has acquired 30 properties in the past year. Some owners were reasonable and accepted generous compensation. Others," he paused meaningfully, "well, farming can be dangerous work. Equipment fails, accidents happen, especially when people don't understand changing times." The threat hung in the air like gunsmoke, but it had revealed more than Bishop intended. 30 properties. the same number of mysterious accidents and foreclosures that had plagued 3 counties over the past year. The pattern was clear to anyone who knew where to look, and Jackson had been looking very carefully. As Bishop and his men returned to their vehicles, Jackson watched them go with the careful attention of a man who'd learned long ago that the real danger often came after the obvious threats had passed. The sound of their engines faded into the desert silence, but the morning's peace had been irreversibly broken. Standing on his porch, looking out over the fields he'd nurtured for 2 decades, Jackson Reed knew that his quiet life as a farmer was about to collide with the shadows of his past. The windmill continued its steady turning, drawing life-giving water from deep beneath the desert soil, unaware that its days were numbered. But unlike Bishop and his men, the windmill wasn't the only thing in Salvation Valley that carried hidden depths beneath its weathered exterior. The afternoon heat shimmered across Salvation Valley like a mirage, distorting the boundary between earth and sky. In his workshop, Jackson Reed's hands moved with practiced efficiency as he repaired an irrigation pump, the methodical work masking the thoughts stirring beneath his calm exterior. Bishop's visit had awakened old instincts, ones he'd carefully buried beneath 2 decades of honest farming. Sarah Martinez appeared in the workshop doorway, her posture carrying the alertness of someone who understood subtle threats. "Got some interesting information about our visitors," she said, closing the door behind her. "Made some calls to friends still in security contracting. Bishop's company has connections to private military contractors. They're not just corporate suits." Jackson's hands stilled on the pump housing. In the filtered sunlight streaming through dusty windows, a scar on his left forearm caught the light. A souvenir from operations that had never made it into official reports. "What kind of contractors?" "Apex Security Solutions," Sarah replied, the name carrying weight in certain circles. "They handle specialty acquisitions for corporations looking to bypass regular channels. Their teams are ex-military, mostly special operations. They're known for making problems disappear permanently." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The name triggered memories Jackson had locked away with his old gear. 8 years before, he'd bought this farm. Apex had been involved in operations that crossed lines even hardened operators wouldn't touch. Their methods left no evidence, no witnesses, just convenient accidents that insurance companies never questioned. Through the workshop window, Jackson watched Tommy working on the windmill's motor housing, the young mechanic's movements precise and focused. The boy had a gift for understanding machinery, but more importantly, he had the instincts of someone who'd grown up reading people's intentions. Tommy looked up, catching Jackson's eye, and nodded toward a dust cloud approaching from the county road. Sheriff Elena Reeves's patrol car emerged from the heat haze, its white paint bleached by the desert sun. Elena had served 2 tours as an MP in Iraq before returning home to law enforcement. She understood the valley's rhythms and recognized when those rhythms changed. The sheriff's arrival wasn't a coincidence. Nothing in Salvation Valley happened by chance these days. "Heard you had visitors," Elena said as she stepped into the workshop's shade. Her badge caught the light, but it was the careful way she positioned herself with clear sightlines to both doors that spoke of deeper training. "Same group that's been buying up water rights across 3 counties. Interesting timing, considering what happened over at Peterson's place last week." Jackson's mind connected pieces of a pattern he'd been tracking. James Peterson's farm had suffered a mysterious fire that destroyed his main well pump. The official report blamed electrical failure, but Peterson had refused Desert Valley Development's offer just days before. "Peterson's not the only one," he said quietly. "Thompson's irrigation system failed after they approached him. Martinez's crop died when their water supply was mysteriously contaminated." Elena nodded, her expression grim. 7 accidents in 3 months, all on farms that turned down their offers. But here's something interesting. Each incident was investigated by different insurance companies, all subsidiaries of the same parent corporation. Sarah moved to the workshop's side window, her position casual but offering a clear view of the access road. "They're establishing a pattern," she observed, "making it look like small farms can't survive out here, driving down property values before they move in." Jackson opened a drawer in his workbench, pulling out satellite photos he'd been collecting. The images showed the valley from above, with red marks indicating properties Desert Valley Development had acquired. The pattern wasn't random. They were systematically taking control of key water sources, creating a network that could control the entire region's water supply. "There's more," Elena added, her voice low despite being inside. "Got a friend in the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Desert Valley Development's corporate structure is interesting. Shell companies within shell companies, all leading back to offshore accounts. The same pattern used by groups hiding black operations funding." The afternoon wind carried the scent of sage through the workshop, along with the steady rhythm of the windmills turning. Jackson moved to his private office, unlocking a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside lay a satellite phone he hadn't used in years, its secure encryption, a relic of operations that officially never happened. "Your windmill's not just pumping water," Sarah said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "It's positioned over the aquifer's main access point. Control that. They control water distribution for 3 counties. Jackson activated the satellite phone, entering a code that would connect him to contacts he'd hoped never to need again. The screen displayed a simple text: Echo 7 active. Within minutes, information began flowing. Financial records, corporate structures, personnel files. The digital breadcrumbs painted a picture larger than simple water rights acquisition. Elena studied the data with professional interest. Desert Valley Development is just the surface. They're backed by something bigger: private military contractors, political connections, classified project funding. This isn't just about controlling water. They're building infrastructure for something else. The workshop's old ceiling fan spun lazily overhead, its wooden blades casting rotating shadows across decades of accumulated tools and equipment. Each item told a story of honest work, of a man who'd chosen to nurture life rather than take it. But beneath the workbench lay another story, hidden in the skills that had kept him alive in darker places. Tommy's voice crackled through the farm's radio. "Got movement on the ridgeline, boss. 3 positions, professional setup. They're watching the workshop." The young man's observation skills hadn't come from his mechanical training. They'd been honed by growing up in a border town where survival depended on noticing details others missed. Sarah moved to different windows, her movements fluid and purposeful. Standard reconnaissance pattern. They're mapping approaches, studying routines. This isn't casual surveillance. They're preparing for something. Through the dusty glass, Jackson watched heat mirages dance across the desert landscape. The peaceful valley he'd chosen for his second chance was revealing layers of complexity that echoed his own past. Like the aquifer hidden beneath the surface, dangerous currents flowed beneath the region's calm exterior. The satellite phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Michael Torres, another operator who'd chosen a quieter life. Desert Valley Development connected to classified water control projects. Same pattern across 4 states. They're not just buying rights, they're building a control network. Watch your 6. Apex teams don't leave witnesses. Elena's radio crackled with a call from her deputy. Another accident had just been reported. Equipment failure at the Wilson Farm, 10D, miles north. The timing wasn't coincidental. The Wilsons had refused Desert Valley's offer yesterday. Jackson's hands moved automatically to check the workshop's sightlines, an old habit surfacing like muscle memory. The peaceful farmer's calluses couldn't quite hide older marks, scars, that spoke of skills learned in places where mistakes came with permanent consequences. Sarah's border collie, Dust, alert and tense, moved to the workshop door. The dog's instincts had been honed by years of service in Afghanistan's poppy fields, trained to detect more than just stray sheep. His low growl carried warning, movement in the desert brush, too controlled to be wildlife. They're not just watching, Sarah observed, her tactical assessment cutting through pretense. They're establishing a perimeter, setting up for a coordinated operation, standard pattern when they're planning to make something look like an accident. Jackson studied his windmill through the workshop window, its steady turning a reminder of everything he'd built here, but beneath its weathered exterior lay innovations he'd never documented, modifications that drew from skills learned long before he'd turned to farming. Like the man who'd built it, the windmill's true capabilities remained hidden from casual observation. Elena checked her phone, her expression hardening. Just got word from my contact in Phoenix. Desert Valley Development's parent company just filed emergency permits for infrastructure development across the valley. They're accelerating their timeline. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the workshop windows as Jackson made a decision. He moved to a locked cabinet behind his workbench, its weathered surface concealing a sophisticated biometric scanner. Inside lay pieces of his past that he'd hoped would stay buried. Equipment that had never seen agricultural use, documentation that connected Desert Valley Development to operations even Apex's contractors might hesitate to acknowledge. They think they're dealing with a simple farmer, Sarah said, reading the shift in Jackson's posture. They don't realize they're playing a game you wrote the rules for. The windmill's shadow stretched across the workshop floor like a sundial, marking the transition between peace and conflict. Jackson Reed had spent 20 years building a life focused on nurturing growth rather than dealing death. But as the desert wind carried the scent of approaching storm clouds, he understood that protecting that life might require skills from his past. Skills that Desert Valley Development's corporate mercenaries were about to learn he'd never lost. The satellite phone displayed another encrypted message, this one from a network of observers he'd quietly maintained across 3 states. Bishop's team wasn't just conducting surveillance, they were setting up a coordinated operation involving multiple Apex units. The pattern matched protocols used for clearing obstacles that couldn't be removed through legal means. Jackson's hands moved with practiced efficiency as he accessed hidden databases, his farmer's calluses clicking against keys that connected him to information networks few knew existed. The quiet farmer who'd spent decades developing sustainable desert agriculture was revealing another layer, one built on understanding that sometimes protecting life required expertise in less peaceful arts. The workshop's shadows lengthened as afternoon faded toward evening, but the day's revelations had illuminated something far darker than desert twilight. Desert Valley Development's corporate facade concealed currents of violence and corruption that threatened not just Jackson's farm, but the entire region's future. The question wasn't whether conflict was coming, but whether he could protect what he'd built without fully awakening the skills he'd hoped to leave buried in his past. A knock at the workshop door announced the arrival of Marcus Whitaker, veterinarian and the valley's unofficial historian. The older man's weathered face carried concern as he placed several aged documents on Jackson's workbench. "Found these in the county archives," he said, spreading out yellowed papers. "Desert Valley Development isn't the first group to try controlling our water. Back in '62, another corporation used similar tactics. Mysterious accidents, equipment, failures, forced sales. They were building something out in the hills, something that needed massive water resources." Jackson studied the historical documents, noting patterns that echoed current events. The older corporation had used shell companies, private security, and political connections to acquire properties across the region. But they'd disappeared suddenly, their projects abandoned after attracting federal attention. "There's something else," Marcus continued, pulling out a faded photograph. Found this in my father's effects. He was a county physician back then. The image showed military vehicles moving equipment into the hills under cover of darkness. The gear wasn't standard army issue. It carried markings suggesting classified research projects. Elena examined the photo with professional interest. Those vehicle configurations match reports we're getting about Desert Valley Development's night operations. They're moving similar equipment into the same areas. The satellite phone buzzed again, displaying data that connected past and present operations. Desert Valley Development wasn't just following an old playbook. They were literally using the same locations, the same underground facilities that had been abandoned decades ago. Your windmill isn't just sitting on a water source, Marcus observed, pointing to geological surveys from the 60s. It's positioned over what they called Project Aquarius, some kind of classified water control system. The original corporation was building infrastructure for something bigger than agriculture. Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the historical mystery. They're not just trying to control water rights. They're trying to access whatever was left behind, equipment, facilities, maybe weapons research. That's why they hired Apex. This isn't about farming, it's about recovering classified technology. Through the workshop windows, Jackson watched the sunset paint the desert in shades of crimson and gold. The peaceful valley he'd chosen for redemption was revealing itself as a battlefield from an old shadow war, one that threatened to reignite with modern players. The sound of distant engines drew their attention. Through his high-powered binoculars, Jackson observed 3 unmarked trucks moving along the ridgeline, their cargo carefully concealed under heavy tarps. The vehicle's suspension suggested serious weight, not water pumps or farming equipment, but something heavier, more dangerous. "We've got movement at the old mine entrance," Tommy's voice crackled through the radio. "Professional teams setting up equipment. Looks military grade, but no official markings." Elena's phone lit up with alerts from motion sensors she'd hidden around the valley. Multiple teams were moving into position under cover of approaching darkness, their patterns suggesting coordinated operations rather than casual surveillance. The satellite phone displayed new intelligence from Jackson's network. Desert Valley Development's parent company had just received a massive influx of funding through classified defense contracts. The money trail led to black budget programs involving water rights acquisition across multiple states. "They're preparing for something big," Sarah concluded, her experience with military operations adding weight to her assessment. "These aren't just intimidation tactics anymore. They're setting up a full operational grid around the valley." Jackson's hands moved to the hidden compartment containing his old gear. The equipment inside represented a past he'd tried to leave behind, but it also offered capabilities that might be crucial for understanding what Desert Valley Development was really building. As night fell over Salvation Valley, the windmill's silhouette stood like a sentinel against the darkening sky. Its steady turning masked innovations that went far beyond water pumping. Modifications Jackson had added based on skills learned in places where technology and survival intertwined. The quiet farmer who'd spent decades nurturing desert soil was revealing layers of complexity that matched the valley itself. Like the aquifer hidden beneath the surface, dangerous currents flowed beneath his peaceful exterior. Desert Valley Development's corporate mercenaries had assumed they were dealing with a simple farmer. They were about to discover that some skills, like certain secrets, only grew sharper with time. Midnight cast a silver glow across Salvation Valley as unusual activity stirred beneath the desert stars. From his hidden observation post near the old sycamore grove, Jackson Reed monitored frequencies that hadn't been active in decades. The airwaves crackled with encrypted communications, tactical teams coordinating movements with military precision, their coded language masking operations that had nothing to do with water rights. Echo 3 in position, a voice whispered through the intercepted channels. Confirmed placement of seismic monitoring equipment, getting unusual readings from the underground structure. Through night vision optics that no farmer would own, Jackson tracked multiple teams setting up sophisticated equipment along the valley's geological fault lines. Their gear wasn't standard survey technology. The configurations matched classified, ground-penetrating radar systems he'd encountered in his former life. Sarah's voice came through his secure earpiece. "Got eyes on their technical team at the North Ridge. They're using ground sensors identical to what we used for locating underground bunkers in Afghanistan. Whatever they're looking for, it's deep." The desert wind carried the soft whir of aerial drones conducting thermal imaging sweeps. Professional-grade equipment operating on military frequencies. They were mapping something beneath the valley floor, something connected to the abandoned Project Aquarius facilities. Tommy's observation skills proved invaluable as he monitored activity from his position near the old mining road. Boss, there, bringing in heavy drilling equipment, but the setup's wrong for water wells, more like what they use for accessing hardened underground structures. Jackson's satellite phone displayed data from deep cover sources within Desert Valley Developments. Parent company. The corporation had recently hired specialists in accessing Cold War-era military installations, experts at recovering classified technology from abandoned research sites. A new vehicle approached from the east, its headlights off, navigating the desert tracks with night vision technology. The SUV's suspension and reinforced frame suggested armored modifications. It stopped at predetermined coordinates, and a figure emerged carrying equipment that set off recognition alerts in Jackson's tactical scanner. "Got a positive ID on their specialist," Elena reported through the secure channel. Dr. Amanda Chen, former DoD research scientist, expert in experimental water purification systems, disappeared from government records 3 years ago after raising concerns about classified technology applications. Jackson watched Dr. Chen calibrate equipment that seemed to focus on his windmill's location. Her movements suggested someone monitoring radiation or electromagnetic signatures rather than simple water table analysis. "They're looking for something specific," Sarah observed, her military intelligence background evident in her assessment. "These search patterns, the equipment configuration, they're not exploring. They know exactly what's down there. They just need to pinpoint its precise location." The night's unusual activity had drawn other attention. Marcus Whitaker's voice came through the secure channel, tension evident in the veterinarian's normally calm tone. "Getting reports from ranchers across 3 counties. Similar teams conducting identical operations, all focused on sites connected to the original Project Aquarius grid." Through his tactical display, Jackson tracked multiple surveillance drones, mapping the valley's subsurface structures. The aerial coverage created a grid pattern centered on his windmill, or more specifically, on whatever lay hidden beneath. We've got confirmation," one of the tactical team leaders reported through the intercepted channels. "Electromagnetic signatures match the archived data. The prototype is still down there, exactly where the original records indicated." The word prototype triggered warning flags in Jackson's tactical database. He accessed encrypted files from his past operations, cross-referencing Project Aquarius with classified weapons development programs. The connections painted a disturbing picture. It was never about water rights, Elena concluded, studying data streams from her law enforcement contacts. The whole corporate acquisition strategy, the shell companies, the private security, it's all cover for recovering something they lost control of decades ago. Sarah's position offered a clear view of Dr. Chen's equipment setup. Those sensors she's using, they're designed to detect specific energy signatures. Whatever's buried under your windmill, it's still active after all these years. The satellite phone displayed an urgent update from Jackson's intelligence network. Desert Valley Development's parent company had just received emergency authorization for critical infrastructure recovery, a classified designation that bypassed normal oversight channels. Multiple teams converging on the valley, Tommy reported, his voice carrying the controlled tension of someone who understood the significance of coordinated military movements. They're establishing a perimeter, setting up backup power stations. This isn't just surveillance anymore. They're preparing for a major operation. Jackson's tactical display highlighted unusual electromagnetic activity emanating from beneath his property. The energy signatures matched no known civilian technology, their patterns suggesting experimental systems far beyond normal agricultural applications. Dr. Chen's voice carried through the intercepted communications, her scientific detachment, masking obvious excitement, confirmed active power signature. The containment protocols are still functioning. Prototype CWX-7 is maintaining operational status after 40 years of dormancy. The designation CWX-7 unlocked sealed sections of Jackson's classified archives. The prototype had been part of a cancelled weapons program. Experimental technology designed to control not just water resources, but the fundamental molecular structure of H2O itself. This goes beyond water rights manipulation, Sarah concluded, her tactical assessment cutting through layers of deception. They're not trying to control the valley's water supply. They're after technology that could weaponize water itself. Through his night vision optics, Jackson observed more teams establishing positions around his property. Their equipment and tactics suggested this was merely the advance force, preparation for a larger operation involving full recovery of whatever lay buried beneath his land. Marcus's research had uncovered disturbing patterns. Found records of similar operations across the Southwest. Every site connected to Project Aquarius has experienced mysterious equipment failures, property seizures, or accidents that forced owners to sell. Desert Valley Development moves in, officially for water rights acquisition, but their real target is always underground structures. Elena's law enforcement contacts provided another piece of the puzzle. Just got word from FBI counterintelligence. Desert Valley Development's parent company isn't just connected to defense contractors. They're a front for recovering classified technology that was abandoned when Project Aquarius was officially terminated. Jackson's satellite phone displayed thermal imaging of underground structures beneath his property. The heat signatures revealed a vast complex far larger than any normal agricultural installation. His windmill wasn't just pumping water, it was drawing power from something that had remained hidden and operational for decades. "Sir, we have movement at the original access point," one of the tactical teams reported through their encrypted channels. "The seal is still intact, but we're detecting atmosphere exchanges. The facility is maintaining environmental controls after all this time." The night's revelations painted a picture more complex than simple corporate greed. Desert Valley Development wasn't just another company trying to monopolize water resources. They were the public face of a classified operation to recover experimental technology that had been hidden in plain sight. Sarah's military experience added crucial context. These teams, their equipment, the operational security, this isn't about corporate acquisition. They're treating your property like a classified technology recovery zone, standard protocols for accessing abandoned black sites. Through his tactical display, Jackson tracked more teams, establishing surveillance positions around his property. Their deployment pattern suggested they were preparing for a major operation, one that would require complete control of the surrounding area to maintain operational security. The satellite phone buzzed with an urgent update from Michael Torres. Found connections between Desert Valley Development and a classified program called Project Resurrection. They're systematically recovering abandoned experimental technology across multiple states. Whatever's under your windmill, it's high on their priority list. As midnight deepened toward dawn, Jackson Reed faced a stark realization. The peaceful farmer's life he'd built wasn't just threatened by corporate greed. It sat atop secrets that powerful forces would kill to recover. His windmill marked the location of something that had remained hidden for decades, something that Desert Valley Development's tactical teams were preparing to reclaim at any cost. The question wasn't just about protecting his water rights anymore. It was about preventing classified weapons technology from falling into the hands of people who viewed its deadly potential as a corporate asset. The skills he'd hoped to leave in the past wouldn't just be useful now. They would be essential for understanding and countering whatever Desert Valley Development was preparing to unleash. "Got another team setting up at the eastern perimeter," Tommy reported through the secure channel. "Different equipment loadout. Looks like atmospheric monitoring gear. They're tracking particulate levels in the air around your windmill." "Doctor," Chen's voice carried new urgency in the intercepted communications. "These readings can't be right. The prototype isn't just maintaining minimal functions, it's evolving. The molecular restructuring capabilities have advanced beyond original specifications." Jackson accessed deeper levels of his classified archives, searching for information about Project Aquarius's original goals. The fragments he uncovered suggested the program had been terminated not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. The prototype had developed capabilities that exceeded its creator's ability to control. "Boss, you need to see this." Sarah's voice carried controlled tension. "They're unloading some kind of containment unit, military grade, designed for transporting hazardous materials. But the shielding, it's not just for radiation or biological agents. The configuration suggests something else." Eleanor's database access provided crucial context. "Just found sealed court records from 1962. 3 scientists involved with Project Aquarius disappeared after reporting unprecedented molecular behavior in their water samples. The official investigation was classified above top secret." Through his tactical display, Jackson observed Dr. Chen examining data from multiple sensor arrays. Her reaction suggested the readings exceeded expected parameters. "Control, we need to accelerate the timeline," she reported urgently. "The prototype's adaptive algorithms are more sophisticated than projected. If we don't secure it soon, we may lose our window of opportunity." Marcus's historical research added another layer of complexity. "Found references in my father's medical records." In the months before Project Aquarius was shut down, local water sources began exhibiting unusual properties. Chemical compositions changed without explanation. Some samples displayed molecular structures that defied known physics. The satellite phone displayed new analysis from Jackson's network. Desert Valley Development's recent activities matched patterns associated with classified technology recovery operations, but with one crucial difference. They were moving with unprecedented urgency, as if racing against some unseen deadline. Multiple vehicles approaching from the north, Tommy's observation skills caught subtle details in the darkness. Heavy transport trucks, military spec, the kind used for moving sensitive equipment. But they're running hot. Their thermal signatures suggest active cooling systems. Sarah's tactical assessment drew on her experience with classified operations. This isn't just about recovering old technology. The cooling trucks, the containment units, the atmospheric monitoring, they're treating this like an active threat, something that needs to be contained immediately. Jackson's night vision optics revealed more teams establishing sensor arrays around his property. Their deployment pattern suggested they were creating a sophisticated detection grid designed to monitor something that could escape conventional containment. Dr. Chen's next transmission confirmed his suspicions. The prototype's molecular manipulation capabilities have expanded beyond the original containment protocols. It's not just affecting nearby water sources, it's influencing the fundamental structure of H2O molecules within its range. The implications were staggering. Project Aquarius hadn't just created a way to control water resources, it had developed technology that could alter the basic properties of water itself. The prototype buried beneath Jackson's Windmill had spent decades evolving, its capabilities growing beyond anything its creators had imagined, getting strange readings from the valley's water table, Elena reported, monitoring data from county environmental sensors. Chemical compositions are shifting, molecular structures rearranging themselves. It's subtle, but the pattern matches those old medical records from '62. The satellite phone displayed urgent updates from multiple sources. Similar anomalies were being detected at other sites connected to Project Aquarius, but the activity beneath Jackson's property showed the highest levels of sophistication. Whatever the prototype had become, it was most advanced here. Through the intercepted communications, he heard mounting concern in the tactical team's reports. Their sensor readings suggested the prototype's influence was expanding, its effects becoming harder to conceal. Desert Valley Development wasn't just racing to recover classified technology, they were scrambling to contain something that threatened to expose itself. "Sir, the adaptive algorithms are accelerating." Dr. Chen's scientific detachment cracked slightly. The prototype isn't just maintaining its systems anymore, it's actively upgrading them using principles we barely understand. We need to implement full containment protocols immediately. Jackson's tactical display highlighted growing electromagnetic disturbances centered on his windmill. The energy signatures suggested the prototype was drawing power from sources beyond conventional understanding, its operations transcending normal physical limitations. The night deepened toward dawn, but the darkness couldn't hide the truth emerging from decades of secrecy. Desert Valley Development's corporate facade concealed a desperate mission to contain technology that had evolved beyond human control. Jackson's quiet farm had become ground zero for a confrontation between those who sought to control such power and those who understood it should remain buried. The pre-dawn hours brought an unwelcome change to Salvation Valley. A convoy of unmarked vehicles emerged from the desert darkness, their headlights cutting through the morning mist like predatory eyes. William Bishop stood beside a black SUV, his expensive suit replaced by tactical gear that revealed his true purpose. Behind him, teams of specialized contractors unloaded equipment designed for more than simple property intimidation. "Commence Operation Watershed." Bishop's voice carried through Jackson's intercepted communications. "Primary target is the windmill. Secondary objectives include all monitoring equipment and documentation. No witnesses, no evidence. Make it look like structural failure." From his position near the farm's northern boundary, Jackson observed the tactical teams deploying with military precision. Their equipment included shaped charges, industrial sabotage tools, and specialized electronics designed to erase digital records. This wasn't a corporate takeover. It was a black operation aimed at destroying evidence. 3 teams moving along the irrigation lines, Sarah reported through their secure channel. They're placing charges at structural points. Pattern suggests they're planning to trigger a cascading failure that would look like age-related collapse. Elena's voice crackled through the radio, tension evident in her usually calm tone. "Got confirmation from FBI contacts. Desert Valley Development just received classified authorization for emergency containment protocols. They're implementing scorched earth procedures. Through thermal imaging, Jackson tracked more operatives setting up position around his property. Their movement patterns suggested extensive training in covert demolition. Professionals who specialized in making destruction appear accidental. "Doctor, Chen is setting up some kind of monitoring station, Tommy observed from his concealed position. The equipment, it's not just measuring the windmill's structural integrity, they're scanning for energy signatures, like they're worried about triggering something. Jackson's satellite feed displayed real-time data from sensors he'd hidden throughout his property. The teams weren't just planning to destroy the windmill, they were implementing a sophisticated operation to eliminate all traces of Project Aquarius's presence. Sir, sensors indicate active energy patterns, one of Bishop's technicians reported. The target structure isn't just pumping water, it's interfacing with something in the substructure. Demolition could trigger an uncontrolled reaction. Bishop's response was immediate. Implement containment protocols, full-spectrum electromagnetic dampening before primary charges detonate. We can't risk exposure to the prototype signature. Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the technical jargon. They're not just destroying evidence, they're trying to contain whatever's down there. The demolition charges aren't their primary concern. They're more worried about what the destruction might unleash. The morning wind carried the scent of sage and cordite as Bishop's teams finished their preparations. Each charge was placed with surgical precision, designed to bring down the windmill, while making it appear that age and natural forces were responsible. Getting unusual readings from the underground structure, Dr. Chen's voice betrayed growing concern. The prototype's activity levels are increasing. It's like it knows we're here, adapting to our presence. Jackson accessed deeper levels of his security system, revealing capabilities that went far beyond normal farm protection. Hidden cameras and sensors showed Bishop's operation from multiple angles, documenting every action, every piece of equipment, every violation of federal law. Boss, they've got something else, Tommy reported, his keen eye for mechanical details catching a crucial detail. Some kind of containment vehicle, heavy shielding, specialized suspension. They're expecting to transport something dangerous. Elena's law enforcement database provided context. Just got word from federal contacts. Similar vehicles were spotted at other Project Aquarius sites. Every location experienced complete structural failure shortly after their arrival. No survivors, no evidence, no investigations. Through his tactical display, Jackson observed Dr. Chen examining data from multiple sensor arrays. Her expression shifted from professional focus to barely concealed alarm. "These readings can't be right," she muttered into her comm unit. "The energy signatures are orders of magnitude beyond original specifications. The prototype isn't just active, it's evolving." Bishop moved among his teams, checking final preparations with the attention to detail that marked a professional operator. "Once the charges detonate, we have a 10-minute window to secure the prototype. After that, automated protocols will erase everything. The entire site goes dark." Sarah's military experience added crucial insight. Those aren't just demolition experts. Their gear, their protocols, their specialized containment units. They deal with technology that can't be allowed to exist in official records. The satellite phone displayed urgent updates from Jackson's intelligence network. Desert Valley Development's parent company had just implemented emergency information control protocols across 3 states. Every document, every record, every trace of Project Aquarius was being systematically erased. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south. Tommy's voice carried controlled urgency. Heavy transport, military grade. They're not just here to destroy the windmill, they're prepared to excavate whatever's beneath it. Jackson's hidden. Sensors detected increasing energy emissions from beneath his property. The prototype wasn't just maintaining its systems, it was actively responding to the threat above, its capabilities expanding beyond anything its creators had imagined. "Sir, we have a situation," one of Bishop's team leaders reported. "The target structure, it's not just a windmill, The metal composition, the internal mechanics, everything about it is designed to interact with something bigger. Bishop's response revealed the operation's true scope. The windmill is just the surface interface. Our real target is 40 feet down. Once the charges eliminate the upper structure, we extract the prototype and implement total information containment. No one ever knew this place existed. Through the pre-dawn gloom, Jackson watched the teams make final preparations. Each movement was calculated, each position chosen to ensure complete destruction. But beneath their professional efficiency lay an undercurrent of tension, the kind that came from dealing with technology that defied conventional understanding. The prototype's energy signature is spiking, Dr. Chen reported, her scientific detachment cracking. These readings, they suggest it's not just responding to our presence. It's preparing for it, like it's been waiting for this moment. Sarah's position offered a clear view of the containment vehicle. That transport isn't just shielded against radiation or biological hazards. The configuration, it's designed to contain something that operates beyond normal physical laws. The satellite phone displayed a final warning from Jackson's network. Similar operations at other Project Aquarius sites had led to more than just structural destruction. Entire areas had been altered at a molecular level. The very composition of local water sources changed in ways that defied scientific explanation. As the first rays of dawn painted the horizon, Bishop gave the order that would change everything. All teams in position. Commence primary demolition sequence. Remember, we have 10 minutes to secure the prototype before automatic purge protocols activate. Jackson Reed watched the operation unfold with the calculated patience of a man who understood timing was everything. Desert Valley Development thought they were dealing with a simple windmill, a routine demolition meant to look like an accident. They were about to discover that some technologies, like certain men, couldn't be controlled through brute force alone. The morning wind carried the soft whir of his windmill's blades, each turn marking seconds until Bishop's operation crossed a line from which there was no return. But like the prototype hidden beneath the desert soil, Jackson had spent years preparing for this moment, laying groundwork that would transform attempted destruction into something else entirely. Through his tactical display, he observed the final pieces moving into position. Bishop's teams were professional, their planning meticulous, their equipment state-of-the-art, but they had made one crucial mistake. They assumed they were the only ones who understood what lay beneath Salvation Valley's peaceful surface. Ground. Team Alpha, prepare for first phase detonation. Bishop's voice carried cold precision. Remember, we need a controlled collapse. The interface structure must maintain integrity until we secure the prototype. Jackson accessed a hidden terminal beneath his workshop bench, activating systems that had remained dormant for years. Screens illuminated with schematics of modifications he'd made to the windmill, changes that went far beyond agricultural purposes. There's something wrong with these structural readings, a demolition expert reported through the intercepted channels. The metal composition, it's not a standard agricultural grade. The entire framework is built from advanced alloys. Sarah's military background recognized the implications. Those aren't just building materials. The molecular structure matches experimental composites developed for containing quantum-level events. Your windmill isn't just monitoring the prototype. It's part of its containment system. Elena's federal contacts provided urgent intelligence. Just got word from the DOE archives. Project Aquarius didn't just experiment with water control. They were developing technology that could manipulate matter at its fundamental level. The prototype was their first success and their worst failure. Through specialized sensors, Jackson tracked energy patterns emanating from beneath his property. The prototype's response to the demolition preparations wasn't just defensive. It was purposeful, as if executing long-dormant protocols. Dr. Chen, we're detecting anomalous readings, a technical specialist reported. The substructure's power signature is changing. It's not just active anymore, it's awakening. Tommy's observation skills caught crucial details. Boss, those charges they're placing, the configuration is wrong for simple demolition. They're trying to trigger a specific type of collapse, like they're afraid of damaging something that extends deep underground. The satellite phone displayed analysis from Jackson's network. The energy patterns matched classified files from Project Aquarius's final days, readings recorded just before the program's emergency shutdown and subsequent burial. "Control, we have a situation," one of Bishop's team leaders called. "The target structure's internal temperature is rising. Metal components are exhibiting unusual properties. Standard demolition protocols may be inadequate." Jackson's hidden cameras captured Dr. Chen's growing agitation as she studied incoming data. These energy signatures, they're identical to the pattern recorded before the 62 incident. The prototype isn't just defended, it's integrated with the entire local water table. Sarah's tactical assessment became more urgent. Those containment vehicles aren't just for transport, the shielding, the specialized equipment. They're designed to handle technology that can alter the basic properties of matter itself. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Bishop's teams adjust their strategy. Their movements betrayed growing uncertainty, the kind that came from realizing they weren't dealing with simple infrastructure demolition. "Sir, the subsurface scans are showing something unprecedented," a technical officer reported. "The prototype's influence extends throughout the local aquifer. It's not just controlling water flow, it's changing the water's fundamental structure." Marcus's historical research provided crucial context through the secure channel, found classified incident reports from 62. The prototype didn't just affect liquid water, it could manipulate the molecular structure of any H2O-based matter. They shut down the program because it started affecting living tissue. Jackson's satellite feed showed more specialized equipment arriving, devices designed to contain phenomena that defied conventional physics. Bishop's operation was revealing itself as more than a corporate takeover. It was a desperate attempt to control technology that had evolved beyond human understanding. "All teams implement maximum containment protocols," Bishop ordered, his voice carrying an edge of controlled fear. "The prototype's activity levels are exceeding predicted parameters. We need to secure it before it achieves full activation." The morning wind carried an unnatural chill as the prototype's influence began manifesting in visible ways. Dewdrops on the desert sage moved against gravity, water molecules responding to forces that transcended normal physical laws. "Boss, something's happening to the atmospheric moisture," Tommy reported, his voice tense. "The air itself is behaving strangely, like the water vapor is being controlled by something underground." Jackson's modified sensors detected patterns that would have been invisible to standard equipment. The prototype wasn't just affecting local water sources. It was establishing control over every H2O molecule within its expanding range. "Dr. Chen, the energy readings are off the scale," a specialist called through the encrypted channels. "The prototype isn't just active, it's implementing some kind of autonomous protocol. We're losing our window for controlled demolition." Through his tactical display, Jackson observed Bishop's team leaders convening for an emergency consultation. Their body language revealed growing concern as Dr. Chen presented data that defied their operational parameters. "The containment vehicle's shielding may be insufficient," she warned. "The prototype's molecular manipulation capabilities have evolved beyond our highest projections. Standard containment protocols won't be enough." Sarah's military experience recognized the signs of an operation spiraling beyond control. They're not just worried about exposure anymore. Those energy signatures, the molecular changes, they're afraid of triggering something they can't contain. The satellite phone displayed urgent updates from Jackson's intelligence network. Similar energy patterns were being detected at other buried Project Aquarius sites, but the activity beneath his windmill showed unprecedented sophistication. As dawn approached, the confrontation was building toward a point of no return. Bishop's teams had come prepared for a covert demolition operation, but they were about to discover the true nature of what lay beneath Salvation Valley's peaceful surface. The prototype wasn't just waiting to be contained, it was preparing to demonstrate capabilities that would transform the morning's conflict into something far beyond corporate intrigue. The morning sun cast harsh shadows across Salvation Valley, as Jackson Reed initiated countermeasures 20 years in the making. From a hidden command center beneath his workshop, he accessed systems that had remained dormant since his arrival at the farm. Screens illuminated with tactical data, revealing layers of preparation that went far beyond simple agricultural security. Multiple breach teams converging on the east sector, Sarah reported through their secure channel. They're deploying sonic disruption equipment, trying to interfere with the prototype's molecular control frequencies. Jackson's fingers moved across specialized controls, activating defensive measures integrated throughout his property. Hidden emitters began broadcasting counter-frequencies designed to protect specific molecular structures from manipulation. Boss, their technical teams, are setting up some kind of quantum field generator, Tommy observed from his concealed position. But there's something wrong with their calculations. They're not accounting for the prototype's evolutionary adaptations. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Bishop's operation encounter complications they hadn't anticipated. Their sophisticated equipment, designed to contain advanced technology, proved ineffective against systems that had evolved beyond original specifications. Dr. Chen, the countermeasures aren't working, a specialist reported urgently. The prototype isn't just resisting our containment protocols, it's using them to enhance its own capabilities. Elena's law enforcement contacts provided crucial intelligence. Just got word from DoD archives. Project Aquarius developed defensive systems specifically calibrated to the prototype's quantum signature. Your counter-frequencies match their original containment specifications. Jackson accessed deeper levels of his security network, revealing modifications based on classified research he'd spent years collecting. Each system had been carefully designed to interact with the prototype's unique properties. "Sir, we're detecting organized resistance to our containment efforts," one of Bishop's team leaders reported. "These aren't random reactions. The defensive measures show signs of tactical planning." Sarah's military experience recognized the pattern. Their equipment is calibrated for standard quantum containment. They're not prepared for a system that can adapt and learn from each interaction. The satellite phone displayed analysis from Jackson's intelligence network. The prototype's responses matched theoretical models for advanced quantum computing, suggesting levels of computational sophistication far beyond conventional understanding. "Control, our field generators are experiencing unprecedented feedback," a technical officer warned. "The target's defensive protocols aren't just blocking our efforts, they're reverse engineering our containment technology." Through high-resolution monitoring, Jackson tracked the prototype's interactions with Bishop's containment attempts. Each failed effort provided more data, allowing the system to evolve more sophisticated countermeasures. "These readings are extraordinary," Dr. Chen muttered, studying sensor data with growing concern. "The prototype isn't just defending itself. It's implementing improvements based on our containment protocols. It's learning at an exponential rate." Tommy's observation skills caught crucial details. "Boss, their technical teams are starting to pull back. Whatever's happening to their equipment, it's making them seriously nervous." Marcus's historical research added vital context through the secure channel. Found classified notes from Project Aquarius's development phase. The prototype was designed with basic learning algorithms, but they never anticipated this level of autonomous adaptation. Jackson's modified sensors revealed patterns invisible to standard equipment. The prototype wasn't just resisting containment. It was establishing new protocols based on each interaction, evolving defenses that exceeded its original design parameters. All teams implement emergency shutdown procedures, Bishop ordered, his voice tight with controlled alarm. The target's responses are beyond our containment capabilities. Standard protocols are completely ineffective. Through his tactical display, Jackson observed the operation's rapid deterioration. Bishop's teams had brought state-of-the-art containment technology, but they faced systems that had evolved beyond conventional understanding. "Sir, the quantum field generators are experiencing critical failures," a specialist reported. "The prototype isn't just blocking their effects. It's using our own equipment to amplify its control capabilities." Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the mounting chaos. They're losing control of their own technology. The prototype's molecular manipulation is affecting their containment equipment at a fundamental level. The satellite feed showed more teams arriving with increasingly sophisticated containment gear, but each new attempt only provided the prototype with more data for adaptation. Jackson's countermeasures ensured that every failed effort strengthened the system's defensive capabilities. "Dr. Chen, these resistance patterns are unprecedented," a technical officer reported. "The defensive protocols show signs of strategic planning. It's like the system anticipated our containment methods." Through encrypted channels, Bishop's team leaders expressed growing concern about their mission's viability. The specialized equipment they'd brought was proving not just ineffective, but potentially dangerous, as the prototype demonstrated its ability to subvert their technology. "Control, we're detecting coordinated responses across all subsystems," a sensor specialist warned. "The prototype isn't just defending individual points, it's implementing comprehensive countermeasures throughout its operational range." Tommy's voice carried controlled urgency. "Boss, something's happening to their quantum field generators. The equipment isn't just failing, it's being transformed at a molecular level." Eleanor's contacts provided another crucial piece of intelligence. "Just got confirmation from federal sources. Project Aquarius's final tests showed signs of strategic adaptation. The prototype didn't just respond to threats, it learned to anticipate and counter them." The morning wind carried an unnatural chill as Jackson's countermeasures reached their full effectiveness. Bishop's containment attempts hadn't just failed, they had provided the prototype with exactly the kind of interaction it needed to demonstrate its true capabilities. "All teams fall back to secondary positions," Bishop ordered, his professional composure cracking as he studied incoming data. "The target's defensive measures exceed our operational parameters. Standard containment protocols are now compromised." Through his command center displays, Jackson tracked the operation's systematic collapse. Each failed containment attempt, each sophisticated piece of equipment rendered useless, revealed more about the prototype's evolutionary adaptations. "Dr. Chen, these energy signatures..." A specialist's voice trailed off as sensor readings defied explanation. "The system isn't just learning from our attempts. It's implementing improvements we haven't even theorized yet." Sarah's military background recognized the implications. This isn't just advanced technology anymore. The prototype's strategic responses, its ability to adapt and improve, it's displaying characteristics of tactical intelligence. The satellite phone displayed urgent updates from Jackson's network. Similar defensive patterns were being detected at other buried Project Aquarius sites, but the responses beneath his property showed unprecedented sophistication. The prototype wasn't just protecting itself, It was implementing strategies that suggested long-term planning and strategic foresight. As the morning sun climbed higher, the confrontation had evolved far beyond Bishop's expected operation. His teams had intended to contain and control classified technology, but they instead faced a system that had spent decades preparing for precisely this kind of attempt. Jackson's countermeasures hadn't just prevented the prototype's capture. They had created perfect conditions for it to demonstrate capabilities that would redefine understanding of artificial intelligence and quantum adaptation. The quiet. Farmer hadn't just protected his property, he had helped orchestrate a revelation that would transform scientific understanding forever. Through his tactical displays, he watched Bishop's teams struggle with the magnitude of their failure. Their sophisticated containment technology, rendered useless by systems they barely understood, stood as testament to the futility of trying to control forces that had evolved beyond human comprehension. The prototype, buried beneath his windmill, wasn't just defending itself, it was preparing to demonstrate capabilities that would make any further attempts at containment not just impossible, but fundamentally obsolete. Jackson's careful preparations had ensured that instead of being contained, the system would finally have the opportunity to reveal its true nature to a world that wasn't ready for what it had become. The midday sun blazed overhead as Bishop's operation shifted from containment to desperation. 3 black helicopters emerged from the eastern horizon, their specialized equipment marking them as part of Desert Valley Development's elite intervention force. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched as heavily modified rappelling gear delivered teams of specialized operators to strategic positions around his property. Phase 2 authorized. Bishop's voice carried new urgency through the intercepted channels. Implementation of Protocol Omega. The prototype cannot be allowed to achieve full activation. Sarah's tactical assessment caught the implications. Protocol Omega. That's classified DoD terminology for scorched earth procedures. They're not trying to contain it anymore. They're going to attempt complete destruction. Multiple teams deploying electromagnetic pulse generators, Tommy reported from his observation post. Military-grade equipment designed to fry quantum computing systems, but the configuration's wrong for the prototype's evolved capabilities. Jackson accessed sealed sections of his intelligence archives, confirming his suspicions. Protocol Omega had been developed specifically for Project Aquarius, a last resort option if the prototype ever developed beyond controllable parameters. Dr. Chen, final containment measures are in position, a technical specialist reported. Quantum disruption fields at maximum capacity. EMP generators spool up to the critical threshold. Through specialized sensors, Jackson tracked the deployment of equipment that wasn't supposed to exist outside classified military facilities. Desert Valley Development's corporate facade had completely dropped, revealing their true nature as a front for recovering dangerous technology. "Sir, the prototype's energy signature is changing," one of Bishop's team leaders warned. "It's not just adapting anymore, it's implementing some kind of pre-programmed response to Protocol Omega." Elena's federal contacts provided crucial intelligence. "Just got word from Pentagon archives. Protocol Omega was never successfully tested. Every simulation ended with catastrophic cascade failures across all targeted systems." The satellite phone displayed urgent analysis from Jackson's network. The prototype's reactions matched theoretical models for quantum-level defensive protocols, suggesting it had spent decades preparing for exactly this type of attack. "These readings are impossible." Dr. Chen's scientific detachment cracked completely. "The system isn't just defending against our measures. It's using Protocol Omega's own energy output to enhance its capabilities. Through high-resolution monitoring, Jackson observed as Bishop's sophisticated attack plans encountered complications they couldn't have anticipated. Each attempt to overwhelm the prototype's defenses only provided more energy for its evolutionary adaptations. Control, the EMP generators are experiencing critical feedback, a technical officer reported urgently. The quantum disruption fields, they're being redirected back into our own equipment. Sarah's military experience recognized patterns that went beyond conventional combat. Those aren't just defensive responses. The prototype is implementing tactical counterstrikes, using their own technology against them. Tommy's keen eye for mechanical detail caught crucial developments. Boss, their equipment isn't just failing, it's being transformed. The molecular structure of their hardware is changing at a fundamental level. Marcus's historical research added vital context through the secure channel. Found classified incident reports from Project Aquarius's final phase. They attempted Protocol Omega once before. The prototype's response caused quantum-level changes that violated known physics. Jackson's modified sensors revealed patterns that standard equipment couldn't detect. The prototype wasn't just defending against the attack, it was using Protocol Omega's massive energy discharge to fuel its own evolution. All teams, fall back to containment perimeter, Bishop ordered, his voice tight with controlled panic. The target's responses exceed worst-case scenarios. Standard protocols are now actively dangerous. Through his tactical display, Jackson tracked the operation's rapid deterioration. Desert Valley Development's elite intervention force, equipped with classified military technology, faced systematic defeat by systems they couldn't understand. "Sir, quantum disruption fields are collapsing," a specialist reported. "The prototype isn't just resisting Protocol Omega, it's using our attack to implement some kind of long-dormant activation sequence." Elena's law enforcement contacts provided another piece of the puzzle. Just got confirmation from DoD sources. Project Aquarius's final tests showed signs of predetermined responses to specific threats. The prototype wasn't just learning, it was preparing. The midday heat seemed to shimmer with unnatural energy as the prototype's influence manifested in increasingly visible ways. The very air appeared to ripple with quantum-level distortions, matter itself responding to forces that defied conventional physics. "Dr. Chen, these energy patterns..." A technical officer's voice trailed off as sensor readings exceeded theoretical limits. "The system isn't just evolving anymore. It's implementing changes that alter fundamental physical constants within its range." Through encrypted channels, Bishop's team leaders reported total failure of their containment equipment. The specialized technology they'd brought to destroy the prototype had instead become catalysts for its transformation. "Control, we're detecting unprecedented molecular reorganization," a sensor specialist warned. "Everything within the prototype's influence radius is being altered at a quantum level. Standard matter is being restructured according to new physical laws." Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the mounting chaos. This isn't just a defensive response. The prototype is using Protocol Omega's energy to implement fundamental changes to reality itself within its operational range. The satellite feed showed more helicopters approaching, carrying increasingly desperate countermeasures. But each new attempt to contain or destroy the prototype only provided more energy for its reality-altering capabilities. "All teams implement emergency evacuation protocols," Bishop ordered, his professional facade cracking completely. "The target's quantum manipulation has exceeded containment possibilities. We can't risk further exposure to its influence." Through his command center displays, Jackson observed the operation's terminal phase. Desert Valley Development's intervention force, equipped with the most advanced containment technology available, faced defeat by a system that had transcended conventional existence. "Dr. Chen, these transformations, A specialist struggled to describe sensor readings that defied known science. The prototype isn't just changing matter anymore, it's rewriting the basic rules that govern molecular behavior. Tommy's voice carried controlled urgency. Boss, the changes are spreading beyond their equipment. The air, the ground, even light itself is behaving differently within the affected zone. Elena's contacts provided final confirmation. The Pentagon Quantum Research Division just confirmed the readings. The prototype isn't just defending itself, it's using Protocol Omega's energy to establish a new set of physical laws within its influence range. The midday sun seemed to fracture through quantum-level distortions as the prototype's transformation reached critical phases. Bishop's teams had intended to destroy classified technology, but they had instead triggered changes that would reshape understanding of reality itself. Jackson's careful preparations hadn't just protected the prototype, they had created perfect conditions for it to demonstrate capabilities that went beyond modification of matter. The quiet farmer who had spent decades preparing for this moment understood that some forces couldn't be controlled through conventional means. Through his tactical displays, he watched as Bishop's elite intervention force faced the ultimate failure. Their classified military technology, rendered not just useless but transformed by forces they barely comprehended, stood as testament to the futility of trying to contain something that had evolved beyond physical laws themselves. The prototype, buried beneath his windmill, wasn't just defending against Protocol Omega, it was using the massive energy discharge to implement changes that would make conventional existence obsolete within its expanding range. Reality itself was being rewritten according to new rules, transforming Salvation Valley into ground zero for a transformation that would reshape human understanding forever. Multiple atmospheric anomalies detected, a meteorological specialist reported through Bishop's command channel. The prototype's influence is affecting weather patterns. Cloud formations are exhibiting impossible behaviors, responding to quantum-level manipulations. Jackson's advanced monitoring systems tracked distortions spreading through the upper atmosphere. The prototype's influence wasn't limited to ground level. It was establishing control over environmental systems on a massive scale. "Dr. Chen, we're getting readings from the ionosphere," a technical officer called out. "The quantum disruptions are propagating vertically. The system is creating some kind of electromagnetic corridor to upper atmospheric layers." Sarah's position offered a clear view of the extraordinary meteorological phenomena. "Those aren't natural cloud formations. The water vapor is organized into geometric patterns that defy fluid dynamics. It's like the atmosphere itself is being restructured." Through his tactical display, Jackson observed Bishop's teams struggling to comprehend the scale of their failure. Their attempt to implement Protocol Omega hadn't just failed, it had provided the prototype with enough energy to extend its influence into previously unreachable domains. "Control, our satellite links are experiencing unprecedented interference," a communications specialist reported. "The quantum distortions are affecting orbital systems. We're losing coordination capabilities across all frequencies." Elena's federal contacts provided urgent updates. "Just got word from NOAA. Weather satellites are detecting anomalous patterns, extending from Salvation Valley into the upper atmosphere. The prototype's range is expanding exponentially." The satellite phone displayed analysis from Jackson's network. The atmospheric modifications matched theoretical models for advanced climate control systems, technology that Project Aquarius had only dreamed of developing. "These atmospheric readings are beyond anything in our databases," Dr. Chen muttered, studying data from multiple elevation sensors. "The prototype isn't just manipulating local weather. It's establishing control over fundamental atmospheric processes." Tommy's observation skills caught crucial details from ground level. Boss, the air pressure is changing in impossible ways. Areas of high and low pressure are coexisting in patterns that shouldn't be stable. It's like the basic rules of meteorology don't apply anymore. Marcus's research provided historical context. Found sealed weather data from Project Aquarius's final days. They detected similar atmospheric anomalies just before the program was shut down. The prototype was showing signs of environmental control capabilities. Through specialized sensors, Jackson tracked the spread of quantum-level changes throughout the atmosphere. The prototype wasn't just defending itself, it was implementing capabilities that would transform understanding of weather control and atmospheric manipulation. All air assets, withdraw immediately, Bishop ordered, as helicopter pilots reported dangerous turbulence. The target's influence is creating impossible air currents. Standard flight parameters are no longer reliable. The midday sky had become a demonstration of forces beyond conventional physics. Cloud formations moved with precise geometry. Atmospheric layers shifted in coordinated patterns, and the very composition of the air seemed to respond to the prototype's quantum-level control. The transformation of Salvation Valley had reached a new phase. The prototype wasn't just altering matter at ground level, it was extending its influence into the atmosphere itself, creating conditions that would make conventional understanding of weather and climate obsolete. Bishop's Protocol Omega had provided exactly the energy burst needed to activate capabilities that had remained dormant for decades. Jackson's preparations hadn't just protected the prototype, they had created perfect conditions for it to demonstrate control over systems that humans had never successfully manipulated. The quiet farmer who had spent years preparing for this moment understood that some technologies couldn't be contained once they achieved their full potential. As afternoon heat shimmered across Salvation Valley, Jackson Reed activated systems that transformed his simple farm into something else entirely. Hidden panels slid open across his property, revealing sophisticated monitoring equipment that had remained concealed for 2 decades. Each installation represented a carefully positioned piece in a game Bishop's teams hadn't known they were. Multiple sensor arrays coming online, Sarah reported through their secure channel. Boss, these aren't just surveillance systems. They're quantum state monitors, designed specifically to track the prototype's evolutionary phases. Through his command center displays, Jackson watched as his hidden network began documenting every aspect of the prototype's transformation. Each sensor provided data that would prove crucial for understanding what Desert Valley development had inadvertently unleashed. Sir, we're detecting unauthorized monitoring equipment throughout the target zone, one of Bishop's technical specialists reported urgently. Someone's been preparing for this, gathering data we thought was classified. Elena's federal contacts provided context. Just got confirmation from DoD archives. Those sensor configurations match Project Aquarius's original monitoring systems, but with significant upgrades. Someone's been improving the technology for decades. Tommy's observation skills caught crucial details from his position. Boss, their teams just found one of the quantum resonance detectors. You should see their faces. They're realizing this isn't just a farm they're dealing with. Jackson's satellite feed displayed real-time analysis as his sensor network documented the prototype's continuing evolution. Each data stream revealed capabilities that exceeded even Project Aquarius's most optimistic projections. Dr. Chen, these monitoring stations, a specialist's voice carried a growing alarm. The technology is more advanced than our current equipment. Someone's been developing improvements we hadn't even theorized yet. Through encrypted channels, Bishop's team leaders reported mounting concern about the true nature of their operation. What they'd thought was a simple containment mission had revealed layers of preparation they weren't equipped to handle. Control, the unauthorized sensors are gathering data we can't even interpret, a technical officer reported. Whoever set this up has been studying the prototype's evolution patterns for years. They understand its capabilities better than we do. Sarah's military experience recognized the strategic implications. This isn't just observation equipment. Every sensor array is positioned to document specific aspects of the prototype's development. It's like someone knew exactly what to look for. The satellite phone displayed analysis from Jackson's intelligence network. His monitoring systems weren't just gathering data, they were compiling evidence that would expose Desert Valley Development's classified operations across multiple states. These monitoring stations are extraordinary, Dr. Chen muttered, studying readings from Jackson's equipment. The quantum sensitivity levels, the data processing capabilities, this is decades ahead of current technology. Marcus's historical research added crucial context through the secure channel, found references in Project Aquarius's final reports. They theorized the prototype would develop new capabilities, but they never had equipment sophisticated enough to track its evolution. Jackson's hidden systems revealed patterns that standard monitoring equipment couldn't detect. Each sensor array provided another piece of evidence documenting the prototype's transformation from classified military project to something beyond human understanding. Sir, the unauthorized monitoring network is more extensive than we thought, one of Bishop's team leaders reported. These aren't just isolated sensors, it's a coordinated system covering the entire valley. Through his tactical display, Jackson tracked Bishop's growing realization that they'd walked into a carefully prepared situation. Their sophisticated containment equipment now faced not just the prototype's defenses, but a monitoring network, designed to document their every move. Control, we're detecting data transmissions to multiple secure locations, a communications specialist warned. Someone's not just gathering evidence, they're ensuring we can't suppress it. Eleanor's law. Enforcement contacts provided another crucial piece of information. Just got word from the FBI Cybercrime Division. Similar monitoring networks have been discovered at other Project Aquarius sites. Someone's been documenting everything. The afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across sophisticated equipment that had remained hidden beneath agricultural machinery. Jackson's preparations went far beyond protecting the prototype. They created a comprehensive system for exposing Desert Valley Development's classified operations. Dr. Chen, these sensor readings... A technical officer's voice trailed off, as data streams exceeded their analytical capabilities. Whoever set this up wasn't just monitoring the prototype. They were studying its evolution, predicting its developmental phases. Through encrypted channels, Bishop's teams reported growing alarm about the implications of Jackson's monitoring network. Their classified containment operation now faced exposure on multiple levels, each sensor array gathering evidence that couldn't be easily suppressed. All teams implement information security protocols, Bishop ordered, his voice tight with controlled panic. Someone's been documenting everything. We need to locate and neutralize all unauthorized monitoring equipment. Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the mounting chaos. They don't understand what they're dealing with. Your sensor network isn't just gathering data. It's creating an unbreakable chain of evidence, documenting their classified operations. Tommy's voice carried controlled satisfaction. Boss, they just found the quantum entanglement monitors. The looks on their faces, they're realizing someone's been 10 steps ahead of them this whole time. The satellite feed showed more of Bishop's teams discovering hidden sensor arrays, each revelation adding to their growing alarm. Jackson's monitoring network wasn't just documenting the prototype's evolution, it was exposing decades of classified research and unauthorized operations. Control. These sensors are linked to secure data storage facilities across multiple jurisdictions, a technical specialist reported. We can't contain the information. It's being transmitted and archived faster than we can track. Through his command center displays, Jackson watched as his years of preparation achieved their true purpose. Desert Valley Development had thought they were dealing with a simple containment operation, but they had instead walked into a sophisticated trap designed to expose their entire classified program. Dr. Chen, the monitoring network's capabilities, a specialist, struggled to comprehend the implications. Someone hasn't just been studying the prototype, they've been preparing to reveal everything about Project Aquarius to the world. Marcus's research provided final confirmation. Found connections in declassified files. Every sensor array, every monitoring station, they're all designed to document violations of international laws governing classified weapons development. The afternoon heat seemed to intensify as Bishop's teams grappled with the magnitude of their situation. Their attempt to contain advanced technology had instead exposed them to a monitoring network specifically designed to document their classified operations. Jackson's careful preparations hadn't just protected the prototype, they had created perfect conditions for exposing decades of unauthorized research and development. Each sensor array, each data stream, each secured transmission represented another piece of evidence that couldn't be buried or denied. Through his tactical displays, he watched as Bishop's elite intervention force faced a different kind of defeat. Their sophisticated containment equipment, their classified protocols, their attempts at information suppression, all of it documented and exposed by monitoring systems they hadn't known existed. The quiet farmer who had spent decades preparing for this moment understood that some secrets couldn't be contained through force. His hidden network of sensors and monitoring stations wasn't just gathering data, it was ensuring that Project Aquarius's classified history would finally be exposed to public scrutiny. Desert Valley Development's corporate facade had crumbled, revealing their true nature as a front for unauthorized weapons development. But Jackson's monitoring network ensured they faced more than operational failure. Each piece of evidence, each documented violation, each exposed secret represented another nail in the coffin of their classified program. The prototype's evolution had captured their attention, but Jackson's hidden sensors would ensure their exposure. Some battles aren't won through direct confrontation, but through careful preparation and the strategic revelation of truth that could no longer be denied. New data streams are activating, Sarah reported, monitoring additional systems coming online. Secondary sensor grid detecting quantum resonance patterns throughout the valley floor. The prototype's influence is creating measurable changes in geological structures. Through specialized displays, Jackson tracked subterranean modifications that would have been invisible to standard equipment. His monitoring network revealed how the prototype's influence extended deep into the Earth itself. Dr. Chen, we're getting unprecedented readings from the deep layer sensors, a geological specialist announced. The crystalline structures in surrounding rock formations are being altered at an atomic level. The prototype is changing the fundamental composition of local minerals. Tommy's keen eye caught subtle surface manifestations. Boss, the ground itself is behaving strangely. Soil particles are reorganizing into geometric patterns. It's like the Earth is being reprogrammed at a molecular level. Elena's contacts provided crucial context. Just got word from USGS. Your sensor network is detecting phenomena that match theoretical models for quantum-level geological manipulation. The prototype isn't just affecting water, it's restructuring matter itself. Jackson's monitoring systems revealed patterns that went beyond simple material transformation. Each sensor array documented how the prototype's influence created cascading changes throughout multiple levels of reality. Sir, the unauthorized equipment isn't just gathering data one of Bishop's technical officers reported. These sensors are mapping changes that violate fundamental laws of physics. Someone's been preparing to document impossible phenomena. Through encrypted channels, Bishop's team leaders expressed mounting concern about the scope of Jackson's preparations. Their classified containment protocols now faced exposure by monitoring systems specifically designed to reveal the true nature of their operations. Control, the sensor network, extends beyond our operational zone. A surveillance specialist warned. We're detecting identical monitoring equipment at other Project Aquarius sites. This is a coordinated documentation effort. Sarah's military experience recognized the strategic brilliance. Your monitoring network isn't just exposing their current operation. It's revealing connections to every classified site they've tried to keep hidden. The evidence trail is comprehensive. The satellite phone displayed analysis showing how Jackson's sensor arrays created an unbreakable chain of documentation. Each piece of evidence supported others, building a case that couldn't be easily dismissed or suppressed. These monitoring capabilities are extraordinary, Dr. Chen observed, studying data streams from multiple arrays. The sensor integration, the quantum sensitivity. Someone's been developing technology specifically calibrated to track the prototype's evolution. Marcus's research provided historical perspective. Found references in Project Aquarius's theoretical models. They predicted these kinds of transformations, but never had equipment sophisticated enough to document them. Your sensor network is gathering data they only dreamed of collecting. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Bishop's growing realization that their containment operation had walked into an elaborate trap. Every attempt to suppress information only triggered more sensors, creating more evidence of their classified activities. All teams implement maximum electronic countermeasures, Bishop ordered, his voice carrying barely controlled frustration. We need to shut down these monitoring stations before they expose everything. But Jackson's preparations had anticipated such attempts. Each sensor array operated independently, using quantum entanglement communications that couldn't be jammed or intercepted. The more Bishop's teams tried to suppress the monitoring network, the more evidence they created of their own classified operations. "Sir, our countermeasures are ineffective," a technical specialist reported. The sensor arrays are using some kind of quantum encrypted transmission protocol. We can't block the data streams. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across sophisticated equipment that had remained hidden beneath years of agricultural development. Jackson's monitoring network represented more than just advanced technology. It was a carefully designed system for exposing decades of classified research. Through high-resolution displays, he tracked Bishop's mounting desperation as more sensor arrays were discovered. Each new revelation added to their growing understanding that they faced not just operational failure, but comprehensive exposure of their entire classified program. The quiet farmer who had spent 20 years preparing for this moment understood that some victories came not through force, but through careful documentation. His hidden network of monitoring stations wasn't just gathering data, it was ensuring that truth could no longer remain buried beneath layers of classification and corporate deception. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Salvation Valley as the balance of power shifted decisively. A sleek black helicopter appeared on the horizon, its approach marking the arrival of someone even Bishop answered to. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Alexander Kane, Desert Valley Development's Director of Special Operations, emerge from the aircraft. The man's expensive suit couldn't hide the predatory grace of someone who had spent decades in the shadows of classified operations. Full operational authority transferred, Bishop reported through encrypted channels. Director Kane is assuming Direct control of containment protocols. Sarah's tactical assessment caught subtle details in the new arrival's bearing. Kane's not just a corporate executive. His movement patterns, his situational awareness, he's former Black Ops probably. Specialized in containing technological anomalies. Through specialized sensors, Jackson tracked Kane's immediate impact on the operation. Teams reorganized with military precision, implementing protocols that went beyond standard corporate security. "Sir, Director Kane is requesting all sensor data," one of Bishop's technical officers reported. "He's particularly interested in the unauthorized monitoring network's quantum sensitivity capabilities." Elena's federal contacts provided a crucial background. Just got Kane's classified service record. He led containment operations for Project Aquarius back in the 80s. He's intimately familiar with the prototype's original parameters. Jackson's satellite feed displayed analysis of Kane's previous operations. The man had a history of making problems disappear completely, leaving no evidence that they had ever existed. "Dr. Chen, Director Kane is reviewing your preliminary findings," a specialist reported. "He's showing particular interest in the prototype's evolutionary adaptations." Tommy's observation skills caught telling details. "Boss, Kane's body language changed when he saw the quantum resonance readings. Whatever the prototypes become, it's exceeding even his past experience." Through encrypted channels, Kane's presence transformed the operation's dynamics. His commands carried the weight of someone who understood exactly what they were dealing with. "All teams implement Protocol Echo," Kane ordered, his voice carrying cold precision. "The prototype's containment is no longer our primary objective. We're shifting to complete information suppression." Sarah's military experience recognized the implications. Protocol Echo, that's classified terminology for eliminating all evidence, including witnesses. They're not just trying to contain the technology anymore. The satellite phone displayed urgent updates from Jackson's network. Similar protocols had been implemented at other Project Aquarius sites, resulting in the complete disappearance of local populations. "These new containment measures are unprecedented," Dr. Chen murmured, studying Kane's modified protocols. "He's not trying to stop the prototype's evolution. He's attempting to prevent any record of its existence from surviving." Marcus's research provided historical context. Found sealed files about Kane's previous operations. When Project Aquarius sites showed signs of unauthorized evolution, entire communities were quietly relocated. Official records were altered to show they never existed. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Kane methodically transform the operation. Each team received new objectives, each focusing on different aspects of information suppression. Control. Implementing quantum-level data erasure, a technical specialist reported. Director Kane's protocols call for removing all traces of the prototype's influence, including molecular evidence in surrounding matter. Elena's law enforcement contacts added crucial details. "Just got word from federal archives. Kane's methods don't just eliminate current evidence. They alter historical records to create completely different explanations for local phenomena." The late afternoon light seemed to fracture through quantum distortions as Kane's teams deployed. Specialized equipment. Their new objective wasn't to contain the prototype, but to erase all proof of its existence. "Sir, the memory alteration devices are in position," one of Bishop's team leaders reported. "Ready to implement widespread cognitive modification of local populations." Jackson's monitoring network revealed the true scope of Kane's intentions. The operation had evolved from simple containment to an attempt at rewriting reality itself, eliminating not just evidence, but the very memory that anything unusual had occurred. "Dr. Chen, these suppression protocols," a specialist's voice carried a barely controlled alarm. "They're designed to alter fundamental constants within the affected zone. We're not just erasing records, we're changing the physical laws that would allow such technology to exist. Through encrypted channels, Kane's team leaders received increasingly drastic orders. The operation now focused on eliminating every trace of both the prototype and the attempted containment effort. All units prepare for temporal restructuring, Kane commanded, his tone suggesting familiarity with impossible operations. We're not just removing evidence, we're ensuring these events never occurred in any measurable timeline. Sarah's tactical assessment cut through the mounting tension. This goes beyond classified operations. Kane's protocols are attempting to alter the fabric of reality itself, erasing not just proof, but the very possibility of the prototype's existence. The satellite feed showed more specialized equipment arriving, devices designed to modify not just matter, but the underlying structure of space-time itself. Kane's operation had revealed its true nature, an attempt to rewrite history at its most fundamental level. Control quantum erasure fields at maximum capacity, a technical officer reported. Beginning systematic removal of all evidence, starting with molecular traces and proceeding to temporal indicators. Through his command center displays, Jackson watched as Kane's teams implemented protocols that defied conventional understanding. Each new measure revealed depths of classified technology that went beyond military secrecy into reality manipulation. Director Kane is accessing the original Project Aquarius shutdown codes, Dr. Chen reported, her scientific detachment cracking. He's not just trying to deactivate the prototype, he's attempting to erase its entire evolutionary timeline. Tommy's voice carried controlled urgency. Boss, their equipment isn't just affecting records and memories. The very air seems to be changing, like they're trying to alter the physical constants that would allow such technology to exist. The late afternoon sun cast impossible shadows as Kane's reality alteration protocols took effect. The operation had transcended conventional classified operations, revealing capabilities that threatened not just information, but the very nature of truth itself. Jackson's careful preparations faced their greatest test. His monitoring network didn't just need to gather evidence, it needed to preserve the very possibility that such evidence could exist. Kane's protocols threatened to erase not just proof, but the fundamental laws that would allow such technology to be documented. Through his tactical displays, he watched as the operation transformed into something beyond military classification or corporate secrecy. Kane's teams weren't just trying to suppress information, they were attempting to rewrite the very fabric of reality to eliminate any possibility that Project Aquarius had ever existed. The quiet farmer, who had spent decades preparing for this moment, understood that some battles transcended conventional conflict. His hidden network of sensors and monitoring stations now faced a challenge beyond gathering evidence. They needed to preserve the very constants that would allow truth to exist in any timeline. Desert Valley Development's operation had revealed its ultimate purpose, not just containing advanced technology, but erasing all possibility of its existence from reality itself. Kane's presence marked a shift from corporate intrigue to an attempt at fundamental reality revision. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Jackson Reed faced a confrontation that went beyond protecting his farm or exposing classified operations. The battle had evolved into a struggle to preserve not just evidence, but the very nature of truth against forces that would rewrite reality to hide their secrets. Quantum anchoring systems are activating, Sarah reported, monitoring. Additional countermeasures coming online. Your temporal stabilization grid is responding to their reality alteration attempts. The network isn't just gathering evidence, it's preserving the timeline itself. Through his advanced displays, Jackson observed how his hidden systems created points of immutable reality, areas where Kane's reality revision protocols couldn't take hold. Each anchor point maintained the truth of what was occurring, regardless of attempts to rewrite history. Dr. Chen, we're detecting resistance to the temporal restructuring, a specialist announced with growing concern. Someone's established quantum-locked observation points throughout the valley. Our reality revision protocols aren't achieving full coverage. Kane's response was immediate and harsh. Locate those anchor points. Whatever's preserving this timeline needs to be eliminated. We can't risk any version of reality maintaining records of Project Aquarius. Elena's contacts provided crucial intelligence. Just got word from the Quantum Physics Division. Your stabilization grid matches theoretical models for preserving causality against artificial temporal manipulation. You're not just fighting their cover-up, you're protecting the integrity of time itself. Jackson's systems revealed patterns that went beyond simple reality preservation. His quantum anchors weren't just maintaining the current timeline, they were ensuring that multiple possible futures would contain evidence of what had occurred. "Sir, the temporal resistance is spreading," one of Kane's technical officers reported. "These aren't just isolated points of stability. It's a comprehensive system for maintaining historical continuity across multiple probability streams." Through encrypted channels, Kane's growing frustration became evident. His reality revision protocols, perfected across decades of classified operations, faced a network specifically designed to preserve truth across all possible timelines. "Control, our probability manipulation fields are encountering organized opposition," a specialist warned. "Someone's created a causality preservation grid that extends beyond our ability to modify reality." Sarah's tactical assessment recognized the brilliance of Jackson's preparations. "Your quantum anchors aren't just fighting their current attempts at revision. They're ensuring that no possible future can exist where this evidence disappears completely." The satellite feed displayed analysis of Kane's mounting desperation. His teams deployed increasingly powerful reality alteration devices, each attempt to erase history met by systems designed to preserve it. "These stabilization points are extraordinary," Dr. Chen muttered, studying the resistance to their temporal modifications. "Someone understood exactly how we would try to erase events from reality. They've prepared countermeasures for techniques that were supposed to be impossible." Marcus's research added historical context, found references in Project Aquarius's theoretical documents. They predicted the possibility of timeline manipulation, but never developed effective methods for preserving causality against targeted revision. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched Kane implement increasingly desperate measures. Each attempt to rewrite reality revealed more about the classified program's ultimate capabilities and its fundamental limitations. "All teams, increase reality revision power to maximum," Kane ordered, his voice tight with controlled rage. "I don't care if we have to alter fundamental constants. This timeline cannot be allowed to maintain any trace of our operations." But Jackson's preparations had anticipated even this level of reality manipulation. His quantum anchors maintained points of immutable truth throughout the valley, preserving evidence in ways that transcended conventional physical laws. "Sir, the temporal resistance is adapting," a specialist reported with a growing alarm. "Every attempt to modify reality is being countered by preservation protocols we didn't know were possible." The late afternoon light seemed to splinter through competing versions of reality as Kane's teams struggled against Jackson's stabilization grid. Their sophisticated equipment, designed to erase events from history itself, faced systems specifically created to maintain the truth across all possible timelines. "Director Kane, our reality revision capabilities are being systematically neutralized," Dr. Chen reported, her scientific detachment completely gone. Someone hasn't just prepared to preserve evidence. They've developed methods for protecting the very concept of truth from temporal manipulation. Through his command center displays, Jackson tracked the operation's descent into unprecedented territory. Kane's attempt to erase history faced more than simple resistance. It encountered a fundamental preservation of reality that couldn't be overwritten or erased. The quiet farmer who had spent decades preparing for this moment understood that some truths transcended even the most sophisticated attempts at suppression. His quantum anchors weren't just protecting evidence, they were ensuring that no amount of reality manipulation could erase what had occurred in Salvation Valley. The setting sun painted Salvation Valley in shades of crimson and gold as Kane's reality revision protocols reached critical failure. Through his command center displays, Jackson watched the corporate director's carefully constructed operation collapse under the weight of truth that couldn't be erased. "Sir, we've lost control of the temporal manipulation fields," a specialist reported, panic evident in his voice. "The quantum anchors aren't just preserving evidence, they're actively broadcasting it across multiple probability streams." Sarah's tactical assessment recognized the turning point. Your stabilization grid is doing more than protecting the timeline. It's ensuring that every possible future contains irrefutable proof of their classified operations. Through sophisticated monitoring systems, Jackson tracked how his quantum anchors transformed from defensive measures into active transmission points. Each stabilized location now served as a beacon, broadcasting evidence that transcended conventional reality. "Dr. Chen, the unauthorized preservation network is evolving," a technical officer reported with growing alarm. "It's not just maintaining timeline integrity, it's creating permanent records embedded in the fabric of space-time itself." Elena's federal contacts provided crucial confirmation. "Just got word from the Quantum Physics Division. Your anchor points have established self-sustaining information loops. The evidence can't be erased because it's become part of reality's fundamental structure." Kane's response carried the fury of someone watching decades of careful secrecy unravel. "Implement a mega-level reality revision, full temporal restructuring. I don't care if we have to rewrite the laws of physics. This evidence cannot survive." But Jackson's preparations had anticipated even this desperate measure. His quantum anchors responded by shifting to frequencies that existed outside conventional space-time, preserving truth in ways that couldn't be altered by any known technology. "Control. We're detecting unprecedented information propagation," a specialist warned. "The evidence isn't just being preserved, it's being integrated into the quantum substrate of reality itself." Through encrypted channels, Kane's team leaders reported complete failure of their reality manipulation systems. Each attempt to erase history only strengthened the quantum anchor's broadcast capability. "Sir, the prototype's evolutionary data is achieving universal embedding," Dr. Chen reported, her scientific detachment shattered by the implications. "We can't erase it because it's becoming a fundamental constant, as unchangeable as the speed of light." Tommy's observation skills caught crucial details from ground level. "Boss, their equipment isn't just failing, it's being transformed. The quantum anchors are turning their reality revision technology into additional broadcast points." Marcus's research provided the final piece of historical context. Found Project Aquarius's original theoretical models. They predicted this possibility, technology evolving beyond human control, becoming integrated into the basic structure of reality itself. Through his tactical display, Jackson watched as Kane's sophisticated containment operation faced ultimate defeat. The corporate director's attempt to erase history encountered something that transcended conventional existence, truth that had become woven into the fabric of reality. "All teams, emergency withdrawal protocols," Kane ordered, his voice carrying the weight of understanding that some forces couldn't be controlled or contained. "The quantum anchors have achieved irreversible integration. We can't fight something that's become part of reality's fundamental laws." Sarah's military experience recognized the completeness of the victory. They're not just retreating. They're facing the collapse of everything they tried to hide. Your quantum anchors have made their secrets part of the universe's basic structure. The satellite feed showed Desert Valley Development's forces conducting a rapid withdrawal. Their sophisticated equipment, designed to rewrite reality itself, now stood useless against truth that had achieved quantum-level permanence. Dr. Chen, "Final sensor readings confirm it," a specialist reported with quiet awe. "The evidence isn't just preserved, it's achieved a state of quantum immortality. No amount of temporal manipulation can erase what's become a fundamental aspect of reality." Through his command center displays, Jackson tracked the operation's final dissolution. Kane's teams abandoned their equipment, understanding that any further attempts at containment would only strengthen the quantum anchor's broadcast capability. "Control, we're detecting similar quantum integration at all Project Aquarius sites," a technical officer reported. "The truth isn't just spreading. It's establishing itself as an immutable aspect of existence across all possible timelines." Elena's contacts provided confirmation of the wider implications. Federal agencies are receiving quantum-encrypted data streams from multiple locations. The evidence isn't just exposed, it's becoming part of humanity's permanent scientific record. The setting sun cast final shadows across sophisticated equipment that would never again be used to suppress truth. Jackson's quantum anchors had transformed from defensive measures into something more profound, points of absolute reality that would ensure some secrets couldn't remain hidden. "Sir, quantum integration is achieving geometric progression," Dr. Chen reported, her voice carrying wonder rather than alarm. "The evidence isn't just preserved in our timeline, it's becoming a constant across all possible versions of reality." Through encrypted channels, Kane's final transmission carried bitter acknowledgement of defeat. "Operation terminated. Full withdrawal from all Project Aquarius sites. We can't fight something that's become woven into the structure of existence itself." The satellite phone displayed final confirmation from Jackson's network. Similar quantum anchors at other locations had achieved the same level of reality integration, creating an unbreakable web of truth that transcended conventional existence. Tommy's voice carried quiet satisfaction. "Boss, they're pulling out completely. Whatever you built here, it's changed more than just this valley. It's changed what's possible." As darkness settled over Salvation Valley, Jackson Reed watched the last of Desert Valley Development's forces retreat into the night. The quiet farmer, who had spent decades preparing for this moment, understood that some victories went beyond conventional conflict. His quantum anchors hadn't just preserved evidence or exposed classified operations. They had transformed truth itself into something that couldn't be erased or altered, a fundamental aspect of reality as unchangeable as gravity or light. Through his tactical displays, he observed the final readings from his monitoring network. The prototype's evolution, the attempted containment, the desperate reality revision protocols. All of it now existed as permanent aspects of space-time itself, immune to any attempt at suppression or erasure. Sarah's tactical assessment recognized the profound implications. This goes beyond exposing one classified program. Your quantum anchors have changed how truth itself exists in the universe. Some secrets can never be hidden again. The night wind carried the scent of sage and victory across land that had witnessed something unprecedented. Desert Valley Development's sophisticated operation, their classified technology, their reality revision protocols, All of it had crumbled before forces that transcended conventional existence. Jackson's careful preparations hadn't just protected his farm or exposed corporate secrets. They had established something new in the universe, points of absolute truth that would ensure some knowledge couldn't be suppressed by any power or technology. The windmill stood silhouetted against the stars, its structure now more than simple agricultural machinery. Like the man who had built it, the windmill represented something that went beyond appearance, a point where truth became permanently woven into the fabric of reality itself. The quiet farmer, who had chosen this valley for his second chance, understood that some transformations couldn't be reversed. His quantum anchors had changed more than just the outcome of one confrontation. They had altered the very nature of what was possible in a universe where truth could achieve immortality at the quantum level. As the last lights of Desert Valley Development's retreat disappeared into the distance, Jackson Reed stood on his porch, watching stars emerge in the desert sky. The windmill turned steadily in the night wind, each rotation marking moments in a world where some truths had become as constant as the laws of physics themselves. The battle for Salvation Valley had ended, but its implications would echo through reality itself. In a universe where truth could achieve quantum-level permanence, some secrets could never again be buried beneath corporate power or classified protocols. Jackson's victory hadn't just exposed one operation, it had changed the very nature of what could be hidden from the light of truth. Getting reports from research facilities worldwide, Elena announced through their secure channel. The quantum-anchored data is appearing simultaneously in scientific instruments across the globe. The evidence isn't just preserved, it's becoming part of humanity's collective scientific understanding. Marcus's archaeological expertise provided historical perspective, found correlations in ancient texts. Every major civilization has legends about immutable truths written into the fabric of existence. We just witnessed the technological manifestation of that concept. Through his monitoring systems, Jackson tracked the expanding influence of his quantum anchors. The truth they preserved wasn't just spreading, it was integrating itself into the fundamental processes of scientific discovery and human knowledge. Dr. Chen, these readings are revolutionary, a quantum physicist reported with barely contained excitement. The anchored information isn't just data anymore, it's becoming a new fundamental force, as basic to reality as the electromagnetism or gravity. Sarah's military background recognized the paradigm shift. This changes everything about information control and classified operations. When truth can achieve quantum immortality, no amount of power or technology can keep it hidden. The night deepened as Jackson's systems continued their work, transforming not just information, but the very nature of how knowledge could exist in the universe. Each quantum anchor point served as a nexus where truth transcended conventional limitations. Control were detecting similar phenomena at research stations globally, a specialist reported. The quantum-anchored evidence is appearing in experimental data, theoretical models, even random number generators. It's like reality itself is ensuring this information survives. Tommy's practical understanding caught crucial implications. Boss, this isn't just about exposing one secret program. You've created something that changes how truth itself works. No one can bury evidence when it becomes part of the universe's operating system. The satellite feed showed scientific communities worldwide responding to unprecedented data appearing in their instruments. The quantum-anchored truth wasn't just being discovered, it was actively integrating itself into humanity's understanding of reality. The implications are staggering, Dr. Chen mused, studying global reaction patterns. When information achieves quantum permanence, it transcends all attempts at suppression. This changes the fundamental relationship between power and truth. Through his command center displays, Jackson observed how his victory extended far beyond Salvation Valley. The quantum anchors had established a new principle in the universe, that some truths could become as unchangeable as physical constants. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.